There is not a lot of added time, though, to go at the Select Car Leasing Stadium. There are a lot of smiles on Chelsea faces. Emma Hayes has allowed that mirage to slip. For now, she's smiling. Sam Kerr is too. And we're watching the closing stages, Rhian, of Chelsea. Deserved champions of the WSL once again.
Yeah, I think so. And, you know, there's only 1 minute of added time, which we've just gone past, actually, now. That's it. Game over. Yeah. Huge win for Chelsea today, just to make sure, and I think it's definitely deserved. I mean, if you think about all the games they've played this season, FA Cup final, obviously the Champions League, getting to the semi-final, I mean, it's a huge achievement, I think. Congratulations to all of them.
Yeah, a fantastic day for Chelsea. Not a good day, though, for Reading, because that defeat means they are relegated to the Championship next season. But big, wide smiles on the faces of all those players, including Sam Kerr. And we touched on it a moment or so ago, Rhian. But for her, Chelsea's biggest player, the Football Writers' Player of the Year, once again, to score 2 goals on the final day. She comes up big when her team need her most.
Yeah, I think you know what, the chances that she's had, I think she's taken today. So, you know, it just shows the quality that they have at Chelsea and that she has, and obviously it's made a significant impact. But yeah, look, it's definitely worth mentioning Kelly Chambers at Reading, because she's been at the club for 20 years, and, you know, this is disappointing for her given everything that she's worked with, and the budget's different, and she's been a stalwart of the game, really. And so credit to everything that she's done to achieve with Reading. It's disappointing for Reading to go down. They've been in the women's game for such a long time, so it's disappointing. I hope they'll be supported as a club to be able to try and get back in the league next year.
And the fairy tale ending as well for Magda Eriksson and Pernilla Harder on their final day as Chelsea players.
Yeah, and, you know, I mean, it's fitting that they've got titles. I think Eriksson's won something like 11 titles with Chelsea and been a captain for 4 years. You know, it's a huge achievement, you know, for her. And Pernilla Harder, for sure, is one of the best players in the world in her position. So there will surely be a loss, but, you know, they're leaving with fantastic titles under their belt, I'd say.
Of the 4 consecutive titles that Chelsea have won, where does this rank? Because obviously they haven't had Emma Hayes on the touchline for certain games this season due to health reasons, but where does this rank out of the last 4 they've taken in a row?
I think it's difficult to sort of quantify, because, you know, consecutive winning is really difficult to achieve, you know. So winning 2 in a row is difficult, 3 in a row is even harder, 4 in a row, you know, it's really tough to keep, you know, not reinventing as such, but kind of getting that flow again and setting the challenge for your team to be able to win year after year after year. So I think, given the way that the women's game's developed and the challenges that have, you know, been obviously evolved within the game, I think it's a huge achievement. Yeah, probably the best.
They're just an irresistible force, aren't they, Sophie Hayward?
Yeah, they are, and like we just said, to keep doing that back-to-back and consecutively, I mean, it's a credit to the players, but obviously the staff, and for Emma Hayes to keep sort of strengthening and keep rejuvenating that squad year on year is, you know, a credit to her. And yeah, they're just too strong over the past couple of seasons. But United have took them close all the way down to the last game of the season. And like I said earlier, when the dust settles and United reflect upon their season, I'm sure they'll be happy with what they've achieved. And they need to be looking at Chelsea and seeing how they can sort of match them with the depth and be able to sort of compete, especially with them now having Champions League games. That'll be the difficulty, to try and manage their squad, and yeah, it'll be exciting to see, but I'm sure United will come again stronger next season. We
touched on it before kick-off, and it was interesting. I was mentioning, as we see Reading have their final words from Kelly Chambers, relegated to the Championship today, but to stay with Chelsea, you mentioned one key player in Fran Kirby, who's missed so much of the season. I saw another just on the pitch there, Millie Bright. Again, it is the squad that has delivered this. It's not an 11-player job. It's the quality right throughout, whatever it is, 19, 20 players that have seen Chelsea just pip the likes of Manchester United and Arsenal to this title.
It is, you know, to go throughout a season winning and to win the league, you've got to have depth, and it's got to be a full squad effort, and you've got to be able to rotate players, and that's what Chelsea have in abundance. You know, they can make a change, and the team's just as strong as it was before. And I think on top of that, winners like Chelsea, they find a way to win even when they're not really sort of playing at their best. I think at times maybe that's what United need to need to find as well. I think today they've not played at their best either, but they've found, by the looks of it, a way to win. But yeah, I think the next step now is strengthening the squad as a whole if they want to compete with Chelsea next season.
Let's talk about the two managers, Rhian. For Emma Hayes, what does she do? Does she just keep staying at Chelsea, churning out these? Because, I mean, it feels as though the world is her oyster, but she just seems to have this sort of unquenchable thirst for winning silverware at Chelsea.
Look, WSL is arguably the strongest league in the world, you know, and I think the fact that you then have a European competition to be able to fight for, you know, maybe the world is her oyster, but ultimately, you know, this league, the option for Champions League, I think is also, you know, it's massive for her to try and obviously achieve that. So, yeah, get a few more players in, strengthen your squad a little bit more, go again to be able to win a Champions League next year after having gone so close getting to the semi-finals this year. Does
that feel a little bit like the final frontier for Chelsea, that Emma will be there until she conquers Europe as well?
Well, look, I hope an English team wins the Champions League, because obviously the last time it happened was Arsenal, as a slightly different title, wasn't it, at that point? And so we kind of need that as the next phase of the domestic, you know, clubs, really, to be able to win something on a more European front. I think that would be an important step in the women's game, and for the game in England to be able to showcase that actually we have a club competitive enough to win the Champions League. So whether that's Chelsea or someone else from the WSL, I hope it's someone from the UK soon.
As for Kelly Chambers, you mentioned it there, she's been an absolute stalwart and done pretty much every job at Reading Football Club. It's not easy for teams to come straight back up. It's taken Bristol City 2 seasons, hasn't it, to return to the WSL, as they will next year. Do you think she will stick around and try and guide Reading back?
Well, you know, I hope so, but I think that the big question really is the support that comes from Reading Football Club has got to be there, to be able to invest in the team so that they can come back up and they're able to compete in the WSL at that point. That's going to be really, really important. The finances are needed there to support Kelly in hopefully achieving that next year.
Sophie, how competitive would you say that the Championship is, and how difficult it is for a team to bounce straight back up having been relegated?
It's very difficult. I think it's similar to what we see in the men's game. It's such a competitive league, and but the biggest thing is the jump from the Championship to the WSL, and I think that jump's getting smaller and smaller every year. But it's definitely a tough league to get out of, and obviously Reading will hope that they can bounce back as quick as possible. But you've seen it before with teams that come down. It's not as easy. You know, Birmingham City, for example, wasn't able to do that this season. Yeah, very competitive, and they'll still have to strengthen, I think, if they want to compete in the Championship, because I think it'll be even stronger next season.
Thank you both for the moment. It's finished as well. By the way, Manchester City have beaten Everton by 3 goals to 2-2 for Bunny Shaw, but it's not going to be enough to get them into the Champions League. They will finish the season 4th.